I think it's time we blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Ladies and Gentiles, it is I, Dick Thunderlips, here with your Recaparoo for the playoffs week un. Only one weekend. We've seen lots of booms, lots of busts, and lots of action in these head-to-head matchups between the top 4 teams, and we've seen even more action popping off in the Heroes of Fantasy, Battle Royale, Destruction Derby of Doom, and such. And we'll get to that a little later. But first, we'll start things off with the matchup between the number 1 seed, the Professor Oscarito, and C Jizzle, No Chance in Hell. It was a rough week un for Oscarito, let me tell you. Oscar proceeded to watch Lamar Jackson and James Robinson do an amount of poo-poo, only scoring 1.1, and James Robinson not even barely getting in the game with 0.4. Sabotaging what would have been a solid day for Oscarito, only scoring 95.7. Sadly, CJ's team was on point, folks. CJ dropped a $145.8. Again, like it has been all year, on the back of Herbie McHerbs, Justin Herbert, dropping 24 ridiculous points. But what really got it done was the Titans D, like a cherry on top with 21.
You make sure they remember forever the night they played the Titans. Leave no doubt.
You're gonna make yourself comfortable down there. Real comfortable.
You know, CJ loves that big D, and he's sticking it right in Oscar's face. The number 1 team of the year in trouble going into week 2 of their playoff matchup. He's going to need to really pop off. Now, our other matchup, second place, Stephen Naramore taking on Jay Sizzle, the champion of 2 years ago, with his eye on the prize, folks. Stephen Naramore, decent day, but what can I say? The RBs didn't get it done for him. Tom Brady popped off with 30 points, but the hot sauce was on the side of Jay Sizzle. And this time, it wasn't who you think it is. No, Jonathan Taylor Thomas on by, but that didn't stop Jay Sachs. No, he pep talked his team. Josh Allen shat 35 points out, and he got performance from the top to the bottom. He still scored a $126. 26-point lead going into week 2 of their matchup. Jay Sachs is looking pretty. Can Stephen Naramore go off and find himself in the championship game? We'll find out. Now, on to the Destruction Derby, Battle Royale, Destruction of Doom, and some of the stuff. Pardon. Well, now we found the sales in the Wild West. Let's take a look. As we took a looky-loo, remember, these folks are not actually playing against each other. You're playing against everybody. So without further ado, let's take a look first at Adrian. Like my bench, I'm out. He scored a $113. Again, this is the base. We're not talking about any power use. Cooper Kupp dropping 24.8. And the big cheesehead himself, the biggest Packer fan in all the land, Adrian, riding A-Raj to 29.6. And despite the goose egg of Chase Edmonds, Adrian still scored a very game $113. Whew. Meanwhile, on the other side, the man who almost made the playoffs, Zacharias, fits in the tantrums. A very game 107.9 in total, which saw Najee Harris try to carry the team on his back. Zach getting some good performances in the middle, but not at the bottom, folks. But hey, not a terrible week, and we'll talk about that power use in just a minute. Next up, we got Los Muchachos Freddy Squad, who we know was on an up-and-down year all year long. But hey, he pulled it together. He managed to break the century mark this time. He scored 100.02. That's right, Freddie took his flaming heap and got it across the finish line, broke the century mark for the first time in a while, thanks to Joe Burrow dropping double deuce in the game. Now his other dudes, not so much, but hey, at least he scored 100. What can I say? Better than the guy on the other side of him over here, if you take a look, Tyree. My team hates me, indeed. It still does, Tyree. I don't know what's going. He put in Jamar Jefferson, hoping that the Lions went to him for some runes, and they did not. He dropped the big gooser, along with the other Detroit running back, Godwin Ikabuki. I don't know how to say that, and I'm not even going to try, except I just did too late. Anywho, point is, this dude played 2 Detroit running backs to try to make up for his injured DeAndre Swift, and somehow neither of them did anything. I guess I'm going to give that the swear of the week just on principle alone. But there you have, folks. That's going to lead to 77.6 points in a very porous Week 1 performance from Tyree. Just one step closer to finishing as the worst team of the year. Tyree, you are truly going to be Adrian's biatch by the time this is over. Now, meanwhile, Ricky G, looking for redemption to this crap a year, ready to roll out, dropped a $102, similar to Freddie, just scratching and clawing just to score a hundy. He had the sad fate of Scary Terry going out concussed, dropping a gooser, and you always hate to see it, along with only 2.7 from Alexander Madison because Dalvin Cook came back, and it was sad Jack. But hey, 26.3 from the ace QB Taysom Hill, who, let me tell you, dude's not a QB, but it's like playing an RB at a QB. It's working, baby. Keep it going. Anywho, if Ricky can get the rest of it together, he's got some hope. We'll talk about powers in a minute. But Obi-Wan Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes, woke up, dropped 20. Alvin Kamara, who Al's been hoping and praying will play someday, finally came back and dropped 22, probably because he's been warming up every week in Al's starting lineup, leading Al to a semi-reasonable 94 points. That's right, folks, 94 points. There's still time to finish better than Tyree, let me tell you. Meanwhile, we're going to take it one day at a time. Matthew J. Segovia still on his heater, by God. I don't know where he's finding it. James Conner and Rashawn Penny are worth every penny. George Kittle is still popping off. Fantasy superstar dropping 27. I don't even know what's going on. Matthew Stafford dropping 23. This dude got a goose egg from Austin Walter, the Jets running back. I don't even know who that is. But Matt scored 142, folks. And let me tell you, that's with the Cowboys defense scoring 23 on his bench. Dude didn't even need it. I don't even know what's going on. What happened to that losing streak? Matt saved up all the juice for this shining moment. Meanwhile, Danny Boy, no slouch, but comparison to Matty S, it's not looking pretty. Let me tell you, Russell Wilson finally woke up, dropped 21 against his former owner, Matt Segovia. Dalvin Cook, a redonkulous 34.7. Too bad he didn't double it. We'll talk about that later. But Tyler Lockett showed up. I mean, I don't know what's going on. And that's the base scores. We're going to talk about the powers right now and just see who is really wild and out. First up, we see the Chief elected to use best ball, and despite some poo-poo performances, he only had one guy actually score better than someone in his lineup on his bench. So Amon Mumra St. Brown, getting in there, giving Ricky G a bonus 11.3 points for his week. Meanwhile, the Professor Oscarito decided to get an additional 0.5 per reception and had 27, giving him 13.5 bonus points. And then we saw Freddy's Los Muchachos also use the same power, getting 23 catches for 11.5 bonus points. Meanwhile, we saw Danny Boy deploy Cam Newton in his flex over Dontrell Hilliard, scoring an extra 12.52 points with his power use. Meanwhile, we saw Cooper Kupp get doubled by Adrian, giving him an extra redonkulous 24.8 points. Meanwhile, we saw Al squander some projection on Patrick Mahomes, who only underscored his projection by 0.78, netting Al less than a point from his power use. Matt Segovia doubled his defense, giving him an extra 7 points. Too bad he didn't play the Dallas D. Oh, anywho. Also, speaking of doubling, we saw Tyree double Nick Chubb, giving him an extra 8 points. The Ocho, not much ado there. Meanwhile, Kyler Murray got doubled for Zachariah, giving him an extra 17.42 points. Meanwhile, the remaining 3 teams all elected to charge it up, which brings us to our final standings where they are at the end of 1 week of action with your bonus scoring. We see Matthew J. Segovia from the bottom on the top with a $149 at the tippity top of the mountain. C. Jizzle, despite not using any power, scoring a $145. Adrian getting a big boost with the 137, and old Danny Boy last place going in, not so much now, sitting pretty at 132. Meanwhile, look on the bottom, looking up. This was a rough week 1 for Tyree and Al. We'll see if they can clean it up. Otherwise, they're going to be shipping that 1,000 pounds of silver and gold, folks. And that's it for this week. Remember to use your powers, get them in. They're Saturday games. And until next time, dicks out, baby.